It's time to take a look back at the biggest buffoons of 2023. Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Buffoon of the Year, our year-end show reviewing all the shenanigans and buffoonery that happened in 2023. I am your host, Gene Berardelli, joined by some of my favorite buffoonologists. Let me introduce you around the horn, starting with my good friend, one of the first people to reach out to me about my book and do an interview. I'm still so grateful to her. Rachel Citak, thank you so much for coming on, and welcome to Buffoon of the Year.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. Another new friend of mine, he is a columnist for TownHall and Red State, and he's a host on multiple shows on the mighty KLRN Radio online. Brad Slager, how you doing, sir?
We're doing well. This is kind of a good primer for me because I have a slew of year-end list in front of me. So this is kind of just priming the pumps for what I've got ahead.
Fantastic. I'm so glad you came prepared. Unlike our friend, we have a friend in common, Brad. He is the king of the mighty KLRN Radio Network. He's also a contributor on Twitchy and probably a million other things that he hasn't told me about. The great, the amazing, the colorful, the very short, Rowdy Rick Robinson. How you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm not that short. I'm 5'9".
Okay.
Granted, for a guy, it's short, but still.
I mean, opinions would vary otherwise based upon what I'm seeing right now.
Jesus Christ, he's tiny.
So, listen, it's a very eclectic group that I brought together here, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking about different buffoons and why they deserve to be finalists for Buffoon of the Year. Now, for those of you who haven't been tuning into the show and don't know what Buffoon of the Year is all about, let's run down some of the rules for Buffoon of the Year. Okay, everybody, here's how it all works. There will be 11 categories of buffoon throughout this event, based upon the categories in my best-selling, award-winning book, Schnooks, Crooks, Liars, and Scoundrels, A Field Guide to Identifying Political Buffoons, which, by the way, is available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores. Cheap plug, I know, but hey, that's how we roll. Our beautiful and lovely guests will nominate buffoons for each category. Just about anyone is eligible for nomination, with the exception of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Because let's face it, if they were to be nominated, they dominate just about every category, and we can't have that now, can we? It takes a majority of our guests voting for a particular buffoon to win that category. Buffoons can win in multiple categories, and each winner goes on to compete throughout the end of the year for your vote as Buffoon of the Year. Other than that, it's pretty much free reign. You are free to persuade and bribe your fellow buffoonologists here to go along with how you're thinking. And of course, all the nominees, as I said, is going to be going towards Buffoon of the Year, where everybody can vote however they choose, whether it be a comment down below the video, a comment on any of our social media platforms, which are listed in the description below, or you can even vote multiple times by going to different places and doing it that way. Vote early, vote often. After all, it is the democratic way.
We're gonna vote, Alan. We're not gonna fight. We're gonna vote.
Let's vote.
Let's vote, and then we'll fight.
So we're starting off, ladies and gentlemen, with a category I've dubbed the Leech. Now, the Leech is sort of the gadfly of politics. The person who just wants to get into office just for the sake of being in office, just to have the title, to feather their own nest, and they do absolutely nothing with it. I'm sure we all can think of examples of people that do that. To me, the biggest example that I've thought of throughout recent time would be AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. To date, I still don't think she has sponsored any legislation that has passed herself, even though she's been in office for many, many years now. But she certainly loves to make money doing politics and loves to be heard and talk and talk and talk. So that's sort of the buffoonery that we're looking for here. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit. I did give you guys a list of nominees that I looked up. Probably the most recent example would be the mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu, and her colors-only Christmas party.
I
think we've had individual conversations with everyone, so people understand that it was truly just an honest mistake that went out in typing the email field. And I look forward to celebrating with everyone at the holiday parties that we will have besides this one as well. So it is my intention that we can again be a city that lives our values and create space for all kinds of communities to come together.
Now, Rick, as a person of color, were you offended by this?
Absolutely, I was offended.
And of course, that color being clear.
The boringest, whitest man alive today.
What do you think about this idea of inclusion by exclusion? You want to be inclusive, but you're doing it to the exclusion of all others. It seems to be something pervasive in modern politics.
Well, it is. I mean, honestly, most of modern politics today is the exact opposite of what they try to tell you that it is. They tell you they want everybody included, but really they only want a select group of people included. The difference is now it's, remember the song from the 60s, long-haired hippie people need not apply. Now it's anybody that lacks melanin just doesn't need to show up at all. just don't bother. Just stay home.
And I think that has also created a culture where people just assume what you think and how you think based upon how you look. And Rachel, I'm just going to come to you with this. Have you experienced this in your personal life?
Oh, absolutely. The Democrat Party is one that has always prided itself on being welcoming and has always thought of itself as the party that welcomes in voters and their concerns when they're of color. But the funny thing is that they often judge you based on how you appear versus in other circles in the Republican Party, you will have to prove your character there. You will have to get to know people and actually prove that you are going to have the best interests of the party concerns at hand. And so I think that when we see these examples like Michelle Wu, where she has this electeds of color only Christmas party, it's like going backwards into the 60s. We're taking steps backwards to where we're excluding those who do not belong to that group. We're self-segregating in that way and just really promoting exactly what you said, that individuals will be judged and assumed on what they think and how they vote just based on what color that they are.
Yeah, I totally agree. And let me go to Brad with this question. So when we talk about the modern left and this idea of inclusion by exclusion, you got to go back to sort of the anti-racism of Ibram X. Kendi and how the only cure to past racism is present reverse racism, basically. And the same thing for present racism being future racism. What do you see? How do you see this playing out in 2024 when we're heading for yet another election? Is it just going to get worse, what we're seeing today?
Well, I'd say their attempts are going to get worse, but their success is not going to be there because we've seen a process throughout this year where a lot of these leftist pushes to discriminate or even cancel people have been failed significantly. I mean, they tried it with Jason Aldean. He went to #1. They tried it with the movie, the child trafficking movie, Sound of Freedom. It became a smash hit. And just, throughout the year, all these examples where they thought they had the upper hand ended up backlashing to a success they hadn't anticipated. And I think that's just going to carry through. The racism is just so played out anymore that nobody even listens to it anymore when they come up with these accusations. And just look at the very fact that Wu puts this party into effect thinking everything was just going to be great. And people just stood up and was like, you can't do that. And she ended up backtracking completely. And it's just, it's the trend where people are just getting fed up with this. And I really think the key for us, meaning people of our skin tone here, is we should just lean into their tactic. I'm going to go, instead of calling myself white from now on, just say that I'm pigment challenged. And that way I get automatic victimhood. And that's what seems to work for everybody. So if we present it in that fashion, I think we're going to be right on par with them.
I was just going to say, I was always shocked that no one really leaned into this concept of how if we have transgender ideology, which says that you can be whatever that you want to be on whatever day. Why was no one concerned with transracial issues? Why was no one concerned that someone who identifies as a specific race for the purpose of a scholarship would take advantage of that, and that's just as wrong as someone identifying as a female in order to obtain a swimming scholarship? I thought that should be a major concern for the left, but it absolutely wasn't.
Well, didn't they try that with Rachel Dolezal, or didn't she try that a couple of years back?
Flashback. Are you an African American woman?
I identify as Black.
End of flashback.
We have Talcum X Sean King, who's out there right now trying to claim that he's responsible for the ceasefire with Israel and Hamas. Maybe that's someone you guys want to nominate as well. There are lots of examples of that out there, but honestly, that's so 2019, the whole transracial thing and the backlash to that. But then again, maybe it'll come around again.
Let's face it, though, the left really couldn't say anything about transracial because then they'd have to call Pocahontas to the carpet.
Oh well, I mean, but she proved it. She proved last year that she's won 1,000. What is it? 2020. She proved it back 2020. She has won 1,027th Native American. God damn it!
What do the facts say?
The facts suggest that you absolutely have a Native American ancestor in your pedigree.
Okay. Why can't you just open your mind and think exactly like her? What is wrong with you?
Because I have more Native American blood in me than she does, so she can just hush now.
And well, there you go. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. Well, listen, there's one other nominee I want to bring up. And I'll open the floor up to everybody else if you want to give your own nominees, give your own thoughts on this. But there is a mayor that I've recently come to know from Dalton, Illinois, named Tiffany Henyard, who is clearly the worst mayor in America today.
You make almost $300,000 between your two elected positions.
I do not. I don't know where you got that number from.
We got it from her own village and township records.
Caught you.
These are tax dollars.
So is the money being spent on village credit cards. WGN Investigates obtained copies of statements that reveal village officials have spent more than $24,000 at restaurants in just 1 year.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas?
Uh-oh.
What is that?
No comment.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
She ended up hiring someone that she knows that just got out of jail for being a child predator, and the community didn't know about it. She travels to different places and spends the town's money on first-class tickets, going to Vegas for some sort of convention for like people who build malls, and she spent like $12,000 between food and hotel and the ticket. And then she has the goal to go back and make the town pay for it. And, just so many different examples. There was one example where she stopped a permit on Parkland for a car show because she was having another event like across the street and didn't want that event to overshadow hers. And she got the police doing all sorts of things to enforce her basically warlord-like rule. And I don't know if you guys have heard of this mayor, but definitely someone to talk about. When it comes to these sort of gadflies, these leeches who are just living off of government, sucking the life out of the community. And doing this, by the way, Brad, in a community where the median income is around $25,000 a year. She's making a salary of $300,000 plus having all these perks. This is the sort of leech that we're talking about, right?
Yeah, that just seems typical of a politician, but actually pretty audacious for somebody at that small of a level. I mean, you would expect to see this in Congress. For her to, it just seems to me like she's pulling a lot more juice than she's generating for office, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she's grifting at a congressional level.
That's pretty impressive.
She may not win this particular category, but definitely check her out. And with
She's
that,
not a mayor, she's a tyrant.
Oh, absolutely. Some have even called her a warlord because she's weaponizing the police against people. So it's gotten that bad.
Sounds like the Mussolini of Peoria. Jeez.
You know, that picture on the wall back there, that wouldn't by any chance be Mussolini.
It ain't Tony Bennett.
You know what? That might stick. Who knows? I know I gave you guys a list of some other local elected officials, like the woman in Wilmington, Massachusetts, that told a rival to go F themselves right in the middle of a council meeting.
You represent the town.
I don't represent analog to the town.
You represent the firefighters. You
I do
represent
not
the public safety
represent
personnel.
the job that pays my family's food.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for your attention to this matter.
No one in town likes you.
Go
Anything you say.
eat some ice cream.
Yeah, why don't you go fuck yourself?
Language.
Whoa! And there it is. The F-bomb gets dropped. Rick, I want you to tell everybody listening about KLRN, where to find you, what you do, what you don't do, who likes you, who doesn't like you, and all the fun stuff that you guys are doing there. I mean, it's got to be over 10 years now, close to, right?
Yeah, we founded KLRN Radio. Now, counting K98 Talk, which was where all this started, it's been going for about 16. We're almost 9 years into the KLRN Radio brand, though. We founded in 2015. It was May of 2015. So we're headed towards 9.
I just want to explain to her, this is a network of amazing shows, amazing content out there that basically you can listen to 24/7 online on your phone as you travel. You hook your phone up to your car, you play it through your car radio. It has an amalgamation of great shows hosted by Rick Robinson, hosted by Brad Slager as well. Brad, I'm going to get that name right sooner or later. You think with Berardelli as my last name, I would be able to pronounce shit right, but I can't.
Smooth move, X-Lax.
But you have shows on there as well, right, Brad?
I do, yeah. Rick has been gracious enough to let me come on the air there. I got basically 3 shows. One I do every Tuesday called The Cocktail Lounge, where we talk about, relaxation, culture, and sports. And then Thursdays I alternate with a couple entertainment shows. One's a bad movie program called Disasters in the Making, and the other is general entertainment news I do with another partner of ours at KLRN. We call that one The Culture Shift, and we just keep tabs on what's going on entertainment-wise as far as both what's coming out, but what's going on behind the scenes. So we just basically have as much fun as we can on the air there.
Absolutely. And Rick, my favorite aspect of anytime I do anything on KLRN, whether it was when I was hosting my show on there or when I come on anybody else's show, it's the chat. I freaking love the KLRN chat. They're witty, they're smart, they're bright, they don't hold back. It's awesome.
Yeah, some of them are so smart, I'm not even sure why they listen to us, but they still do. So
True. I get you on that. But for the people who haven't had the pleasure to listen to it, how can we tune in to KLRN Radio? Where do we go? What do we do?
You can find it at klrnradio.com. You can also find, once you zero in on your favorite podcast they're available on pretty much every podcast source. We do most of our live content right now is either late afternoon, evenings. We don't really do much in the mornings yet. I actually was trying to work on that, and then my schedule changed again. So we're having to shift things around again. But honestly, it's kind of patterned off of old school AM radio. I got the idea years ago because it's just AM radio was out there when the political talk started. Then at night it became something completely different, and you got all the weird off the wall stuff. So we do a little bit of all of that there. We have, like he said, we've got the niche programming for entertainment. We do a twice a week program called Juxtaposition, which is our homage to Art Bell before George Norrie killed Coast to Coast. and that one is actually tonight. Next Friday, we're actually going to be doing our 3rd annual Christmas production. We do live reading as of a Christmas program of one sort or another, and have for the last 3 years, usually the week before Christmas. And it is going to be A Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh, that's really cool. So I just pulled up klrnradio.com. You see, there's a ton of shows that you can choose from. A lot of great programming, a lot of great content. Check out klrnradio.com and find a new podcast for 2024, guys. It's fun stuff. There's a lot of great hosts, a lot of great personalities. Check them all out. As you see, they just keep going. You see, it just keeps going here. klrnradio.com. KLRN.com. Check it out right now. Well, not right now because you're listening to us, but check them out soon.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
check it out later. Don't leave Gene hanging.
But is there anybody out there that can think of any buffoon, whether it be on the left or on the right, because we are equal opportunity mockers here? Is there anybody on the left or the right that you can think of that was just in office this year for the sake of being in office and just having the title and, oh, look at me, and just this sort of gadfly that you can think of? And don't let the dead air seem awkward at all at this point.
Say something!
I think George Santos definitely qualifies. I might even go with Gavin Newsom because he's really positioning himself for a presidential run. I mean, look at the fact that he's been in Texas, Florida, the Middle East, China, barely spent any time in his own state while claiming he's not running for president. It's like,
while he was in his own state, he did make sure that the city of San Francisco was cleaned up for the communists visiting. So he did do that. So let's not say he did do nothing.
No, he's got to keep his bosses happy.
Absolutely. Rick, how do you feel about Gavin Newsom?
Dude, don't even get you want to talk about the used car salesman turned governor. That's where we are right now.
Hi there. How you doing? Say, this your $10?
This man has done more to populate Texas than probably anybody else in recent memory.
Texas, Florida, and Tennessee have had a population boom thanks to Gavin Newsom. There's a Christian radio network that I listen to that used to be based out of California that moved their entire operation to Tennessee to get away from Gavin Newsom.
Wow, that's a big move. I mean, Tesla left California, right? Tesla left, and a lot of their people left.
I'm never coming back here.
I didn't watch the debate with Gavin Newsom.
We did.
And Ron DeSantis. Why? Why would you do that?
Unwatchable.
We do this thing called Poli Sci 11. It's kind of our little take on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Every time there's something like a debate on, we live stream it and make fun of it at the same time. It's great. You should join us sometime.
All right. Listen, I definitely would. But you know what? I gotta be honest. Watching things like that, I have enough trouble watching Republicans debate. It just gets to be too much. So speaking of, George Santos, Brad also brought him up. Believe it or not, this is a name that has been brought up multiple times during the year. I don't know if you guys know this, but the guy wasn't exactly a great politician. In fact, he might have been considered a fraud. So I'm going to go to Rick on this one, then Rachel, I'm coming to you next. Was it right to expel George Santos from Congress? Rick, start with you.
I mean, honestly, I have to say I'm kind of surprised they didn't do it sooner. And I get everybody's like, well, he's not really, he hasn't been convicted of anything, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Look, when the dude has done everything that he's done, and we know he's done it, we've seen the different stories, the different takes, the different lies, all of the above. I don't know about y'all, but I wouldn't want him to be my representative. And I know there are people that actually voted for him that were mad that he got ousted. I happen to know a guy whose mom was pissed. You know him too, Jason Dombrowski, JD on Twitter. He was tweeting in sake of his mom for like a week straight, just venting about how mad she was that the dude got ousted. I'm just like, he's a nut bar. Do you really want somebody who's obviously that psychotic as your representative? I mean, he doesn't even know who he is from 1 minute to the next. How is he going to do anything for you?
Oh, I totally agree with that. And I've had people come up and say, well, this is Republicans shooting themselves in the foot. They don't go after Democrats like this. And I think these are people who don't really understand the process of expelling someone from Congress and how you need 2/3 of Congress to do so. That's why you're not seeing Rashida Tlaib being expelled. That's why you're not seeing Adam Schiff being expelled. Democrats are protecting these losers from that. So when I saw George Santos get booted, I thought to myself, this is going to be great locally here in the People's Republic of New York, because now you have 2 elections to try to rehabilitate the Republican brand in that district without the stench of Santos. You can walk into that district now and say, hey, look, at the Republicans did the right thing. We care about your vote. We care about what you think. And we can now move forward with someone more credible. And hopefully they can win back the trust there. So that's George Santos. Let's put it to the vote. I think it's time to vote for this Leech, who will be a finalist for Buffoon of the Year. Unless you guys have someone else you want to nominate, I think we're good to talk about who we have talked about and get ourselves on the record here.
Bueller. Bueller. Bueller.
Hearing no other nominations, I'm going to go around the horn and see who you guys want for the Leech this year in 2023. Rachel, I'm starting with you. You have Michelle Wu. You have Gavin Newsom. You have George Santos from New York. Who are you picking? Who would you like?
I'm going to go with Michelle Wu.
Okay, that's cool by me. Rick, who are you going for?
It's really kind of a toss-up for me between Santos and Newsom, but I think Newsom is much more of a Leech, so I'm going to have to go with Newsom.
All right. Thank you for getting the fence post out of your ass. I appreciate that. Brad, who you got?
Yeah, I'm kind of equally torn, but I'm going to lean on Newsom only because he's still out there doing this thing where, Santos has at least been checked. So I think it's I think the fact that Newsom is still running wild is going to tip the scales for me.
That's a really good factor.
I'm inclined to go Michelle Wu, but I'm only going to go Newsom. And I'm sorry to say this, Rich. I'm going to go with Newsom only because he's had higher visibility throughout the entire year. I think that Michelle Wu really came in like a flaming comet right at the last minute here and got included in this category. But Newsom's been around for a good long while, and he has not been doing a lot of great work in California, despite what he thinks. And I'll go along with him for the Leech of the Year. So congratulations to Gavin Newsom. He is now a finalist for Buffoon of the Year as this year's Leech.
That's a really great factor of like whether or not someone has been checked or not, because she did at least get so outed that she apologized. But it's like Gavin Newsom is doing crazy things all the time and he's never checked on it. So just keeps chugging along.
Absolutely.